Welcome to Inside Out, the Emotional Awareness Podcast, a Mentalus Academy production. Let's learn more about ourselves, inside and out.
So hi, everybody, and welcome back to our podcast called Inside Out. And today we have Naiya, who has very kindly agreed to join us. And we're going to be talking about a subject that I think resonates with a lot of people. I know it resonates with me as well. And that subject is procrastination. So hello, Naiya, welcome, and thank you for being here.
My pleasure. Hello.
And yeah, so maybe tell us a little bit why you chose to want to talk about this topic.
Well, when I saw that it was one of the options, I resonated right away. It's a topic that probably since my childhood has been something that has perhaps been a small issue or a bigger issue at times. I've always wondered why I procrastinate. Of course, in the earlier days, I used to think, as many of us often do, that maybe it has something to do with laziness or just avoidance. But then I realized as I got older and maybe would hear more things about it, that it's not that at all. I've heard that perhaps it's fear of failure. I think also in my case, what happens is I try to wait for the right time to do something. And as often happens, the right time never comes. And then at this point, it may have snowballed into maybe an even bigger issue. So then you avoid it even more. And also for me, I've noticed that if I know how to do something, chances are I won't procrastinate. If there's something that I don't want to say scares me, but I'm not sure of how to do something, or I think something might go wrong, that's just another reason for me to procrastinate. And when I don't procrastinate, many times I find myself saying, why do I procrastinate? Look, it was so easy. I succeeded. Why do I do this? But that maybe happens 10 or 20% of the time. The other 80, I go the procrastination route. I don't know at my age if I can change or improve this moving forward. But if I could even a little bit, it would be great because it does add stress to your life, does to mine. And that's why I chose this topic. It's something I hope I can improve upon. And that's it for now.
You've actually touched on quite a lot of things in what you just said.
Yes.
Things that we're going to talk about a little more in detail, because I think that a lot of people would be interested in sort of breaking that down a little bit. So the first thing you said was that a lot of people associate procrastination with laziness. And it's true, because a lot of people just feel terrible about themselves. They're like, oh, I'm supposed to do this and I'm not doing it. I must be lazy. It's a fault of mine. It's something that's wrong with me, which then actually, as you said, often it is fear-based. So if you layer on top of that this feeling of feeling badly about yourself, plus the fear, now you're really not going to do it, right? So that's sort of an interesting first step. Nezin, I don't know if you want to add something to that.
I find I go in the same sense you said. It's what she started with, and she named quite a few things about the fear of failure, fear just to start with. But I also find that when she said, I know that when I know I can do it, I won't procrastinate, which kind of makes me think about perfectionism and how we want things to be perfect. And then if we think we can't have the perfection we're looking for, we sometimes procrastinate more. So I don't know if it resonates with you or if you have other questions to follow on with that.
It resonates very much because I am a very detail-oriented person. And therefore, if I'm going to do something, I want to do it right. And that's another delay because now you want to do it when the time is right. You want to do it when you have the time to do it right. And again, as often as with a very busy life, you don't get around to it. And then I talk to myself, and now I often try to listen to my gut. If my gut tells me, no, you got to do it now, I really try and listen to it. And then it's usually right. But if my gut is feeling lazy, I shouldn't have used that word lazy. If my gut is not telling me to do it now and, I could do it later, then the later usually wins out.
And I like how you mentioned the details, you see, because there is somehow difference on the weight of details can have on us and how much details we accord to one task. You see, if before one task, I put 10 conditions for details for it to be right, then of course it's not going to be easy. And not just the task and the stress of the task, it's the stress of every single detail we're putting that we need to do it. And we carry on with that. So it's kind of, as Daniela said, it makes it harder to follow that.
Absolutely.
And the fear of failure is, as you mentioned, Naya, is a big one. Because if you combine the perfectionistic side with also the side that doesn't want to disappoint. So there's an internal judge that says, I need it to be perfect. But then if you also imagine that there's an external judge there who's going to either not appreciate what you've done because it isn't done well enough or whatnot, then you could see how, yeah, like it would really be something you'd want to put off.
I resonated very much with the word disappoint. I do like to please. I like to be kind. I like to be empathetic. I don't know if these words matter right now, but I think with the personality that I have, I want to do it right the first time. And if I fear that I might be judged, or I know that no matter what I do, something negative will be said, well, then I just put it off even longer. Who wants to hear negative commentary or negative judgment? So, yes, the disappointment for sure is something that I have to agree with, that it affects me even more. Yeah.
One of the interesting things about perfectionism and procrastination and whatnot is that I think you touched on it. You said sometimes you do things and then you say, why did I put this off for so long? Like, it wasn't that bad. And I think sometimes we can talk ourselves out of things, but that also means we can talk ourselves into it. So, one of the things with procrastination is if you can break it down in your mind into pieces that are much more manageable, then it doesn't feel so bad. Like it doesn't feel like insurmountable. You could say, well, I'll do a piece of it right now. Like I'll start off the process. Let's say you're procrastinating calling a government agency or whatever because you, oh my God, I'm going to be on the phone forever and I don't know if I have the information they need and all this. You could say, okay, so for today, I'm just actually going to look up the number or the email or whatever that I need to contact, and then I'll do the other steps later. Because there's an old saying, which I like very much, which is, what is it? It's better to light a single candle than to curse the darkness.
Oh, wow. I like that. I like what you said about breaking it into small pieces. Again, one of my issues in many parts of life is taking that first step to start, that infamous to start. And if I do start, then I'm usually pretty good at continuing. I don't need to break it up into small pieces. It's to do that first piece. And I'm trying very hard to keep talking to myself. It's like, okay, just do it. Just start. Just start. Nope. Doesn't always happen. Maybe once or twice out of 10, but the other times, and I keep talking to myself, just start. But here we are.
Yeah, you see, and I find that it is very hard because we beat ourselves up. But it's also important to say that, well, I couldn't do it now, but I've done it in the past, once or twice. So it's reassuring. It's like, I can do it. It's hard now, but it's okay. I've done it in the past. It gives us the reassurance for ourselves that we can do it. It's scary or it's related to other stuff, but we still have the capacity to do it.
And I tell myself, for God's sake, you could do this, but I still convince myself otherwise. It's so much easier not to do it, right?
You bring up a good point, and it's also human nature, I guess, to say, well, this is what I'm procrastinating on. This is what I don't feel like doing. I'll do this other thing instead. And that makes us
Usually more pleasurable.
yeah, or something we're just more familiar with or that doesn't cause us as much stress. And it's probably something also useful that needs to be done, but is probably not the priority. But we'll default to that because it kind of appeases our anxiety that we're not doing what we should be doing, while at the same time giving us a sense of accomplishment that we've done something, which is fine, but it still leaves the task undone.
What I call distractions. We kind of create useful distractions, still useful, but they are distractions as well.
I find very often, if there is that priority, what I do, and perhaps you call them distractions, I take all the little other things that I need to do and I say, let me do those so that I get them out of the way, so that when I hit the priority, my focus is only on that and that there are no other distractions. So let me do those first, which of course are usually the easier things to do. And then eventually, when I'm running out of time and I have to do it and I have pressure, that's when it gets done. I hate it. I don't like working with pressure. But unfortunately, the procrastination ends when it has to be done, and it has to be done now, today, not tomorrow. And that's when it gets done.
And I find that amazing for how with working with pressure and procrastinations work together so often, you see, because all those things we are worried about, the small details that how I will do it or not, kind of disappears when we are under pressure, and then we are just doing what we have to do correctly and the way we wanted it to be.
Mm-hmm.
It also takes away some of the failure. That's an interesting thing about what you just brought up, Naiya, because it creates a situation where, so for example, let's say you have to write a paper for you're in university or something. The deadline is Friday, and it's now the Friday before, and you tell yourself, okay, I have plenty of time. I should sit down and write it and whatever. And then the days go by, and you end up writing it on the Thursday night at midnight, and it's due at 8 a.m. on Friday morning. What are you doing? Yes, you're pushing it to the limit, but you're also creating a situation where if you don't do well, it's not going to be because you're not good enough. It's going to be because well, of course I didn't do well. I wrote it at the last minute, you see? So it's another way to safeguard your own ego. That's another purpose of procrastination is if I do it at the last minute in a rush and it doesn't work out, well, I can tell myself, well, yeah, but that's because I just did it at the last minute.
I
So
never thought of that one. I can't say I thought of that one. The words that are coming to me right now are self-loathing, because then you're upset with yourself for waiting that long and not succeeding. And then you just berate yourself and say, why did I do that? Why I had all this time? And so, yeah, that's not good either.
it's kind of like
Yeah.
dual function.
Yeah, that happens often with me. The blaming and the why didn't you and the why.
Even this self-loathing, sometimes it's easier to deal with than the procrastination itself, you see, because we've done it. We can do nothing about it now. So as Daniela said, we are faced with situations we cannot deal with. So it's sometimes easier to deal with that than with the actual situation and the stressors that come with it, whether it's performance, whether it's details. I need it to be well done, perfect. The perception of how others might perceive it. When we have time, as Daniela mentioned, this allows all of this, or maybe the thought of all of this happening. So it's a lot sometimes to deal with.
Hey everyone, we hope you are enjoying this podcast. Want to find out more about this topic and much more? Check out our courses at Mentalist Academy. Find out more at www.mentalistacademy.com. And now, back to our podcast.
So what should I be doing to try and change this moving forward? Or is that the $1 million question?
Well, I mean, I find what Daniela said, even if it's hard, even if it's just to cut it into pieces and start, because then, as you said, it's not the big piece that we need to work on, it's those little things around it, and those usually are easier. Any other suggestions, Daniela?
Well, the other one is just to ask yourself, and this requires like quite a bit with yourself to say, well, what is it that I'm so afraid of? What would be the worst thing that could happen here if I do this and I fail? And often what you'll see is that the things that we fear are not necessarily all that bad. Like you just keep going down that road of asking yourself, well, okay, so I do this and I screw it up. Okay.
I
So
think in my case, it's increased stress levels. We don't like being stressed. I mean, who wants to be stressed? But stress is there in every part of our lives often, and I like to avoid stress. And if I'm not sure of how to do something, but it's something I have to do, I get stressed, and maybe I don't want to ask for help. I want to figure it out on my own, but then I still don't know how to fix it. So then I have to ask somebody, and I mean, you don't want to come across as not intelligent. So I think maybe all of that, the stress levels.
Amazing, because what you mentioned is avoidance, which is one of the best coping mechanism we might have on
Mhm.
the very short term, but
Yeah.
on the long run, it plays us because we end up not doing. We avoided the stress. We didn't do what we have to do, not to feel the stress it comes with it, but we end up more stressed, as you mentioned when you
Mhm.
started.
Yeah, you make it worse. And then you say, why did I do this? I'm making it worse. Just reach out. And then you reach out, and 9 times out of 10, it's positive or the solution is found. It's just, I guess I imagine how things could be instead of how they probably will be. And I make it worse with my imagination and what I assume. Yes, assuming. That's a good word. I assume how things will be. And often it's not how they end up being.
Well, and like Nedzin said, avoidance has its place. If you think about it, that's what we're wired to do, to avoid danger, to avoid pain, to avoid all these things. And not just us, but human animals in general, too. Except we've taken it to another level because we anticipate those things. We anticipate failure, we anticipate humiliation, we anticipate rejection from others, and all those things, which then causes us not to want to confront something or do something. And that's where procrastination comes in when it's tied to avoidance, trying to avoid a negative outcome. But like you said, you don't really know whether that outcome will be negative.
As you said, you end up doing it. You end up doing the worst nightmare that you want to do, and you end up forgiving yourself, you see, and whether the result is not what you like, but I mean usually it is what we like, and usually we procrastinate because of other things than the actual task itself, you see. But then again, we end up doing it correctly most of the time, more than correctly, and we end up being okay with all the other points of it. So sometimes I find this helps, the idea of like, well, at the end, I'm going to do it. And whatever the result is, I'm going to have to face it.
I think I need to start telling myself what's the worst that can happen. And I don't. I I need to maybe be a little forgiving and kinder to myself. What's the worst that can happen? And if you have to ask for help, you ask for help. I don't know, is it maybe it's hard for some of us to ask for help. I don't know. I don't like to ask for help. I mean, I don't let me think about this one. I don't mind asking for help, but if I could do it on my own, I'd like to figure it out on my own.
If you don't mind, I would touch on how you've mentioned that and how to be nicer with oneself, which is kind of self compassion. That is one of the hardest things we do when we are so harsh on ourselves with our judgment, you see, because we are our worst enemies. We judge ourselves more, way more severely than others judge
Mhm,
us. So I think there is also that. So, what's the worst that can happen? How can I be nice to myself as well?
mhm. And then give yourself a pat on the back. I sometimes I do give myself a pat on the back, but not as often as perhaps I could and should.
Another good way to think about it too is, what if someone else was in your shoes? Would you judge them as harshly?
No, I'm a very empathetic person.
Exactly. So that's a good way to look at it sometimes, to say, well, if this was someone else and they made this mistake or the outcome was not what they wanted, how would I judge them? And therefore, why am I judging myself so harshly compared to how I would judge my friend, my brother, my sister, my aunt, whoever, you know?
I like that one. I should try and do it more often because if it was the other way around, I would be jumping to help. So, yeah, that's a good one. I'll try and remember that one.
And yeah, and the other thing you brought up, which was interesting as well, is that procrastination. So some people will say, oh, I procrastinate all the time. It's actually not true. They procrastinate on certain things,
Hmm.
not others. So that's also interesting to note about yourself, is just what are the things that I procrastinate on? Because you'll find there's probably a theme. You know,
Hmm.
maybe it's like things that I'm really afraid of failing at, or it could be I procrastinate when it involves people that I'm really afraid of disappointing, or it could be on tasks that I think I'm not good at, or there's many different ways to look at it. So then you'll start to notice a pattern.
Well, for sure, it's tasks that I either don't enjoy or doubt my abilities. If it's something that I want to do, there is no procrastination. And the things in the middle, I often find myself saying, well, if it can wait till tomorrow, or it can wait till later this evening. Sometimes just the most simple task of cooking, to make food, to have lunches and suppers for the following days. You could do it at 2 in the afternoon, or you could do it at 8 p.m. And I'm often doing it at 8 p.m. because I could do it later and I find something that I enjoy more to do it earlier. It's the enjoyment factor I find as well, for sure.
And some procrastination can actually be good that way because it means that you're actually, like you just said, you're doing things that bring you pleasure. So that's a form of self-care too. It's not just, I don't want to do these things and therefore I'm putting it aside and then it'll harm me. Sometimes it's for the greater good. It's like, no, I don't really feel like doing that because I want to just have fun right now.
You brought up something that made me think of something else. I know people that do things the complete opposite, too fast, right away. And they do it so fast that within an hour or two, the circumstances have changed, and then they have to do it again. And I'd like there to be more of a balance. Sometimes you shouldn't do things right away. You have to reassess the situation. Things might change if there are issues involved. But then again, you don't want to wait last minute either. But I just wanted to bring up that doing things too fast isn't necessarily good either.
You see, the thing about last minute also, it can be useful sometimes because our body is kind of activated. So
Mhm.
we are at the max of our capacities without noticing and without self doubt. So sometimes I'm not saying we should do that. It comes with a whole bunch of stress that we deal with. But I mean, we also have our capacities at that moment to work with.
Well, I'm definitely more productive and faster, less wasting of time. With other things, a lot of times I take as much time as I have, but when there's no more time, I boogie, especially if there are deadlines.
And what you mentioned a minute ago about some people just do things too fast and they don't take everything into consideration and it has to be done again, you could argue that that's also a form of avoidance when you're doing something too fast.
Get it out of the way.
Exactly. It's like I don't really want to look at it in any great detail, so I'm going to do it as fast as I can so it's out of my line of sight and out of my mind.
So, like in many things in life, it's all about the dose, finding the balance.
Very much so. I think everybody will pretty much resonate with that on one level or another. We're all a work in progress all the time.
I'm going to try and break it up into little pieces and then do that. Okay, just start. Do the little first piece. And then usually piece 2, 3, and 4 follow. But if they don't, it's okay because at least I did piece number 1.
Yeah, and in fact, you can make a deal with yourself to say, I will only do piece one.
Uh-oh, it'll be dangerous. When then I'll have to figure out when to do piece 2.
Yeah, but that way you don't end up disappointing yourself. You see, if you do piece one, you've essentially done what you set out to do. If you end up doing more, that's great. But
If you don't.
the only piece that's on your list is piece one. And you will find that once you do that, because you said starting is the issue, you'll find that once you get started, you're like, oh, okay, well, I can keep going. And
Yeah, happens so often. And then that's when the self-loathing happens because it's like, oh, why did I wait? Why did I do this? Look, now I did it. It's done. The stress is gone.
And maybe self compassion can be here as well. It's like understanding that I procrastinate because I'm avoiding this subject. The outcome is very important for me, and understanding why you're doing this. But then, well, this is how I am, and this is what I do. It's not the ideal, but why do I need to be bad with myself about it?
I don't know why. Yeah, we have to be kinder to ourselves.
well, like I said earlier, we all have our internal judges and the perceived external judges. And sometimes the internal judge tends to be a lot stricter than the reality of the external judge. So yeah, you want to keep an eye on that internal self-critic, especially when you've gone through the trouble of pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone and you have done something and you stop procrastinating. If the internal critic is then allowed to tell you, you see, like, such an idiot, you didn't do it and you could have done it and it's so easy. And why didn't you do it? Well, you've just negated all the good work of having actually gone beyond your comfort zone, as opposed to just appreciating, like, okay, I did it.
And I'm wondering, I don't know if I should be bringing this up, but as a young child, there was always a lot of pressure to be a good student and get good marks. So I'm thinking somehow that plays a role in the putting the pressure on myself to do it right, and therefore waiting for the right moment to do it right. Not sure about that one.
Well, I mean, definitely it starts somewhere, and usually it starts with childhood because this is how we got brought up. Our upbringing kind of shapes how we are. So, yeah, there's a big probability it's coming from there.
Everything starts with childhood.
Well, I mean, we get to learn things as we grow up, you see, but when it's that marked, usually it has been for a while now.
And can we undo learned behavior after all these years?
What do you say, Daniela?
I think that there's an element that kind of gets rooted in our character. So I think, for example, somebody who's been brought up and has learned that it's important to have other people like them and think they're doing a good job, and it's important to do everything right all the time and always be good, is never going to be someone who just doesn't care. That's not going to happen. That being said, I think that you can learn in time, first of all, by becoming aware of it. That's the biggest piece, is just, oh, look what I'm doing and look why I'm doing it. And now I understand where it comes from, which is why therapy helps in that regard. Because once you recognize it, you can't not see it anymore. You can't just do it and say, I don't know where this is coming from. And once you know where it's coming from, then you can, I won't say erase it or change it completely, but you can certainly moderate it. How's that? Like you can make that critic voice a lot softer. And you
You
can say, I don't need to listen to you, critical voice, right now. I can just do what I need to do.
you brought up the word care, and I find myself often saying it's because I care that I do certain things or don't do certain things. And I'm sure somehow it falls into the procrastination department because it's because I care that I'm going to wait to do this later when I can give it proper time. It's because I care that I'm going to try and figure it out on my, well, no, maybe not that one. I was going to say figure it out on my own. But yeah, the caring gets in the way sometimes. Maybe if I cared less, I would put less pressure and then just go with it, you know?
Or if you put some of that care on yourself and say, well, I care about, my own well-being in this too.
Well, that's another topic for another day. Yeah, caring about yourself and putting yourself first. I do tend to put others first, trying to be a little more loving to myself, but I do tend to put other people's feelings first. So I guess that perhaps plays a role.
About that, because I care. I mean, yeah, we care. I think, but why does it have to be done in a certain way because we care? This is where we put the pressure on ourselves. You see, I care and I want to do this well because I care or for the person I care. But the procrastination, this is where it comes because the care kind of holds lots of valuable things to us. So we don't want to disappoint. We want it to be very well done. And this is where it comes because we're going to do it. And when we're doing it for the people or the things we care about, it's going to be how it is. This is our perception, and this is how we put things on ourselves. Our mind kind of associates things in a way that because I care, it has to be done in a certain specific way.
The word perception you just used, I'm thinking my perception of might be very different from everybody else's that I'm trying to please. And I'm sure that's also problematic sometimes because I'm perceiving that they're going to think this and they're going to think that. And in the end, they probably don't think about it at all. That's an interesting thing for me. I don't know how it plays with the procrastination, but maybe a little bit.
Actually,
It does.
a lot, because it means that the perception that you have or what you're imagining other people are thinking, causing you to feel like you have to go above and beyond, then causing you to see whatever you're procrastinating about as being a huge mountain that you have to climb, put it off. Whereas if you said good enough, like I'll give you an example. So let's say I'm throwing a dinner party and I think to myself, oh, well, to show everybody how much I care, everything I make for this dinner party has to be made from scratch, and it has to be something I've never made before, so that they see how much care and attention I've put into this. And now all of a sudden, this thing that was supposed to be a dinner party with friends now becomes like this monster that I have to tackle. And then I may say to myself, oh, you know what? This month is pretty busy. Maybe I'll just have them next month. And then next month turns into the month after that. But I created this mountain.
Yes.
For all I know, these people are just as happy to come over and have hot dogs.
Right. You're right.
I would add on to that also. Let's say, Daniela, you went on with this dinner party and you kind of put all the effort and everything you've done from scratch. And then they come, and this is where perception and judgment goes on also. And they come and it's like, they don't eat what you've done because they're not hungry, or they just eat one, or they don't like, you see? And then how does it make us feel? This is how it goes. The resentment goes there. We get upset. We kind of get, oh, this is the self loathing. Why did I do that? I mean, because we kind of put this on ourselves somehow.
I guess even with everything I did, I didn't do enough, apparently, or I
also
make the right thing, or I should have known better. And that's when the self loathing kicks in, right? So, like, no matter what you do, you can't win.
And then do you throw another dinner party?
Well, then you'll be much more likely to procrastinate about throwing another one.
I'm not going to do that. It was so stressful, and for what? And yeah. And then maybe next time I'll just do the pizza and worry that they're not going to be happy with the pizza. And
Exactly.
yeah, I put pressure on myself for sure.
Yeah, and you said the word worry, which kind of, for me, it's always linked with all of this pressure.
Worry.
Worry, care. I mean, if they don't like pizza, I mean, they are coming for the pizza or coming to see you. So
because you aim to please.
Exactly.
That's me. I aim to please, and not myself, everybody else. And then the stress levels are high, and then you're like, oh, why did I do this? But then afterwards, when everybody's there and usually you're having a good time, you're so glad you did it. But you had pressure before. So what I'm going to take out of this conversation is to try and be kinder to myself, to not worry so much about what everybody else is thinking or perceiving, because chances are I'm wrong. When I have tasks to tackle, try and break it up into little pieces and do that first piece. You don't have to do the second one. If you do it, great, great. If you don't, you don't.
I think that's a pretty good summary.
That's a good summary.
Yeah, you kind of wrapped it up very well.
Are you going to check up on me in a month and see if I'm procrastinating less?
Are you worried about that?
Oh, wow. Good one. See, I just create all this worry in my life about what you guys are thinking.
There you go.
I really shouldn't be worried about what you're thinking. Of course, I care what you're thinking. What are they thinking? What are they thinking? Yeah, I have to just be kinder to myself, I think, and to remove some of the stress and pressure. It's not good. And what's the worst that can happen? And if I'm late, I'm late.
Right.
I'll always get fixed and corrected. And if I need to reach out for help, you reach out to the people you trust and know are there for you and loyal.
Very good way of looking at it.
Good way.
Should we ask you this if you feel you have covered everything you're looking for, or we kind of explained it, but how is it for you? So
I'll try and be kinder to myself. That's the takeaway for me. Kinder to myself. Don't worry about people's thoughts or my perceived thoughts that they're having, and breaking it up into pieces. I'm going to try and do that one.
I want to thank you for doing this, Naiya. I really appreciate you coming on and going beyond your comfort zone here. Thank you.
You're very welcome. My pleasure. And I'd be willing to do another one. This is good. This is helpful and therapeutic.
Excellent.
Amazing.
Thank you very much.
See you next time. Find out more at www.mentalizeacademy.com